I think it's no secret that Nintendo 3DS's time is coming to an end. Despite this, the little handheld that could sports an immense library of games. 3DS games, DS games, and thanks to Virtual Console, it has Game Boy games, Game Boy Color games, NES, SNES, Genesis, Game Gear, the list goes on and on. So today I thought it'd be cool to look at my top 5 Virtual Console games for the Nintendo 3DS eShop. And for this list I have 4 simple rules. 1. I have to own them. 2. I can only use one per series, however I can include spin-offs. A good example of this would be the Mario Land series, which spins off into the Wario Land series. 3. Games must be able to be played on all 3DS models. So I'm sorry, but that does disqualify SNES games. And 4. I will include 3DS classics. And now that we have that out of the way, let's get started with The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening DX. I'm not a hardcore Zelda fan, but I do love the manga and certain games in the series, and this is one of them. Personally, I think this is the best 8-bit Zelda game. It's not as smooth as its 16-bit brother, but it plays a lot better than Zelda 1 and 2. I also love the puzzles and its story, although the end gets a tad bit depressing. I also love all the references to Nintendo's other franchises in this game, like the inclusion of Chain Chomps, Goombas, and a certain pink puffball. And the DX version sports an extra color-themed dungeon, and that's pretty cool. Hopefully when the remake comes out on Switch, because at the time of this recording it hasn't yet, it'll do this gem justice. Pokemon Yellow! Okay, I know this will probably upset some people because either you feel this should be higher on the list, or that I should have picked a different Pokemon game to go on the list, but let me explain. While I have played both the Gen 1 and Gen 2 games currently available, Yellow's the one I have the fondest memories with. Plus, on top of that, it's currently the only one I actually own on my 3DS. That being said, I love Pokemon Yellow because I love Gen 1. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, and future games in the series would go on to improve the balancing issues this game has, but it's still the original Pokemon with all the challenge that I've missed. Also, I loved the anime growing up, so having my own Pikachu follow me around outside his Pokeball and seeing Jesse and James from Team Rocket made it all the more sweeter during each playthrough. Sonic the Hedgehog for the Game Gear. For those of you not aware, I'm a Sonic fanatic, and as much as I love having Sonic 1 and 2 on my 3DS, the better ports of those games are on iOS with better visuals, sound, and bonus features. So for this list I chose Sonic 1 on Game Gear. It's short, it's sweet, and it's a favorite of mine to replay. I love some of its simple tunes too, like for Bridge Zone, although the auto-scrolling level in that zone can screw off in my opinion. Sonic is a little slower here, and there's some screen crunch, but other than that, it's as standard as Sonic gets, which works perfectly fine for me. 3D Classics, Kirbys Adventure. This is actually hard. I have a personal soft spot for Kirby's Dream Land 1 and 2, but I have to give it to Kirbys Adventure. The 3D here is pretty cool, you can map commands to whichever buttons you want, and the game is an all-around perfect port of the original. There's also a lot more content in this compared to its Game Boy counterparts, but understandably that's due to it being a console game at the time. Either way, it deserves to be the number 2 pick. But as for Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins. That honor goes to this gem. Now I have to admit that out of every game on this list, I am a bit partial to this one. Let me explain. On my 5th birthday, I received a Nintendo Game Boy. That Game Boy came with the only game I ever had for the duration I owned it, and that was this game. I had the cartridge for years too. Even after I lost my Game Boy, I did eventually lose it, but it still followed me for the better part of the decade. So in 2012, when I received my first gift card for the Nintendo eShop, this was the first game I bought for it. And it's still my favorite game on the Game Boy to this day. For a Mario game, it had its own unique world and setting, a different plot from the usual affair, new variations of power-ups, and it shared the sprite quality from the Super Nintendo games. Out of all my Virtual Console games, I can firmly say I logged the most amount of hours into this one, and it's my solid pick for number 1. And with that folks, if you stuck around until the very end, then I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed this list, and hey, if you want to share your list for your top 5 favorite Virtual Console games, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I look forward to reading them and seeing what any of you have to say. Meanwhile, I'm going to get working on the next video, so I'll see you then.